You are 15 years old. You love something. Maybe it's drawing, or music, or making videos, or building things with your hands. When you do it, time disappears. You are completely absorbed. It feels natural, alive. You could do this forever. Then one day, your parents sit you down. That's a nice hobby, they say. But you need to think about your future. What career will that lead to? How will you make money? How will you survive? You try to explain, but I love this. I'm good at it. I want to do this. They shake their heads. There's no stability in that. No security. What will people think? We want what's best for you. So you compromise. Okay, I'll study something practical. Engineering, medicine, business, and I will do what I love on the side. But here's what actually happens. By 18, you are in college studying something you have zero interest in. By 22, you are in a job you don't care about, but it's stable. By 25, you are working 50-hour weeks, doing the thing you hate, but it's respectable. By 30, you are burned out, anxious, depressed, but you are too deep in to quit. You have bills, responsibilities. Everyone thinks you are successful. By 40, you look in the mirror and think, who am I? What happened to that kid who loved drawing? By 60, you are filled with regret. I wasted my entire life doing what others wanted me to do. This is not hypothetical. This is the story of billions of people, including probably you and me. And J. Krishnamurti watched this pattern, destroying generation after generation. He said, this is not love. This is violence. Violence disguised as care. Control disguised as guidance. And it's ruining millions of lives. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how this happens, why it happens, and what real freedom from this actually looks like. Not motivational thing, not just quit your job and follow your dreams, but the actual psychological mechanism that traps you and how to see through it. Let's go. First, you need to understand your parents aren't trying to hurt you. They genuinely believe they are helping. But here's what they're actually doing. They are projecting their fears onto you. Let me show you how this works. Step 1. The child has a genuine interest. Something spontaneous, natural, joyful. For you, maybe it was art, or sports, or cooking, or making things. Whatever it was. It came from you. Not from what you were told to like, but from genuine, natural interest. Then, parents see this and feels fear. Not consciously, but deep down, a fear arises. What if my child can't survive doing that? What if they end up poor? What if they struggle like I did? What if people judge me for raising a child who became an artist instead of a doctor or engineer? This fear didn't come from nowhere. It came from their parents, who got it from their parents, who got it from their parents. It's a chain of fear, passed down generation after generation. Then parents act from this fear. They don't say, I'm afraid for you. They say, I know what's best for you. They don't say, I'm scared you will suffer. They say, that field has no scope, no money, no future. They don't say, I need you to be successful, so I feel secure. But they say, we want you to be happy. But it's all fear. Fear of insecurity, fear of judgment, fear of their child suffering. And they pass this fear to you as guidance. Then you resist. Because you are young, you still have that fire. No, I don't want to be an engineer. I want to do this. Then the pressure intensifies. Arguments, guilt, emotional manipulation. After everything we have done for you, this is how you repay us? Do you think we worked this hard just so you could waste your life? You are being selfish, immature. You will regret this. We are only trying to protect you. And here's where it gets brutal. They use love as a weapon. We love you. That's why we are doing this. If you really loved us, you would listen. And you, because you do love them, because you do want their approval, you start to break. Then you internalize the fear. At first, you fight back. But after months or years of this, you start to think maybe they are right. Maybe I'm being unrealistic. Maybe I'm just being stubborn. Maybe what I love isn't practical. I need to grow up. And here's the moment your life changes. You stop trusting yourself. You stop trusting your own interest, your own joy, your own instinct, and you start living according to their fear. Then you choose the safe path. You study what they want. You pursue the career they approve of, not because you want to, but because you have been conditioned to believe their fear is wisdom. Then you spend your entire life doing work you hate. And the worst part, you don't even blame them. You blame yourself. I'm just not passionate enough. I'm not grateful enough. I should be happy. I have a good job. But deep down, you know, you're not living your life. You are living the life they were too afraid to let you live. Now here's where Krishnamurti's insight gets really deep. This isn't about your parents. Your parents did the exact same thing. They had interests, passions, dreams, and their parents crushed them with the same fear. That's not practical. That won't pay the bills. What will people think? So your parents gave up what they loved. They became engineers, doctors, accountants, whatever was safe. They spent 40 years doing work they didn't care about. And all that disappointment, all that unfulfilled potential, it's still inside them. And now they are passing the same pattern to you. Not because they are bad people, but because they don't know the other way. They genuinely believe safety and security are more important than joy and interest in this world, because that's what they were taught. This is the trap. Generation after generation, destroying their children's natural intelligence in the name of protection. Krishnamurti called this psychological violence, and he said, until you see this pattern, you will repeat it with your own children. Stop. I know some of you are thinking, this is too harsh. My parents did their best. I can't blame them. I'm not asking you to blame them. I'm asking you to see what happened. There's a difference between understanding and blaming. Blaming keeps you stuck in resentment. Understanding sets you free. So let's keep going. Because there's another layer most people miss. Even the people who do follow their passion, they are often still trapped. Let me show you. Okay, so you realize my parents conditioned me into this career I hate. I need to follow my real passion. You quit your job, you start pursuing what you actually love. Maybe music, art, writing, entrepreneurship, whatever. Finally, freedom, right? Wrong. Because here's what Krishnamurti saw that most people miss. Following your passion can also be conditioning. What do I mean? If you are pursuing your passion as a reaction to parental pressure, you are still not free. You are still conditioned. You are not doing it because it's genuinely arising from you. You are doing it to prove your parents wrong. You are doing it to rebel. You are doing it because you need to show them and yourself that you were right and they were wrong. This is still psychological dependence, just in reverse. The structure is the same. Instead of, I need their approval, then I'll do what they want. It's, I need to prove them wrong, then I'll do what they opposed. You are still not free. You are still operating from a psychological need related to them. But Krishnamurti said, freedom is not doing the opposite of what you were conditioned to do. Freedom is being free of the psychological need itself. Let me give you a concrete example. Say, your parents wanted you to be a doctor. You hated that, so you become an artist. Now, are you an artist because you genuinely love creating art? Or are you an artist because being an artist is the opposite of being a doctor and you need to prove your parents wrong? If it's the second one, you are still trapped. You are still psychologically dependent on them just through rebellion instead of obedience. And here's how you know. If you need to succeed as an artist to feel okay about your choice, you are not free. If you need them to eventually admit you were right, you are not free. If you feel resentment toward them while doing your art, you are still not free. Real freedom has no resentment, no need to prove anything, no dependency, neither through obedience nor rebellion. Here's the deeper pattern Krishnamurti points to. Most people spend their entire lives seeking something from their work. If you followed your parents' path, you are seeking security, approval, status. If I get this promotion, I will finally feel successful. If I make this much money, I will finally feel safe. If people respect my career, I will finally feel worthy. If you rebelled and followed your passion, you are seeking validation, proof, fulfillment. If I succeed at this, I'll prove I was right. If I make a living from my art, I will finally feel free. If my parents see me happy, they will finally understand. Both are seeking, both are using their career to fill a psychological need. And K says, as long as you are seeking anything from your work, security, success, validation, proof, you'll never be free. Because the work becomes a means to an end, a way to get something you feel you lack. And when work is a means to an end, it becomes a burden. Real work, work that comes from freedom, is not about getting anything. It's pure expression, creativity, and trust. It arises naturally when you are not psychologically dependent on the outcome. But to get there, you first have to see the whole pattern, the conditioning, the reaction, the seeking. You have to see all of it. Not to fix it, but just to see it. So, what is freedom? According to Krishnamurti, freedom is not doing what your parents want, doing the opposite of what they want, finding the right career, following your passion, making money, quitting your job. Freedom is psychological independence, not needing anything from your career to feel okay. This doesn't mean you don't work. It doesn't mean you don't have preferences. It doesn't mean you don't pursue things. It means you are not using work to fill a void. You are not dependent on outcomes to feel secure, worthy, or validated. You are not seeking approval from parents, society, or even yourself. And this freedom comes from seeing the whole pattern, seeing the conditioning. Oh, I chose this career out of fear. Fear of insecurity, fear of disappointing my parents, fear of judgment. Seeing the reaction. Oh, even when I rebelled, I was still psychologically dependent on them. I needed to prove them wrong. Then seeing the seeking. Oh, I am using my career to feel worthy, to feel successful, to fill some inner lack. When you see all of this, not intellectually, but actually see it in your own life, then something shifts. You stop being driven by fear. You stop needing to prove anything. You stop seeking fulfillment from external achievement. But then what remains? Natural interest, natural action, natural expression. Not because you should, not because it will get you something, but because it's genuinely arising from. Krishnamurti called this action from freedom, not action from conditioning. Now, let's make this practical, because I know 3 types of people are watching this. You are young, currently facing parental pressure. Type 2. You are stuck in a career you hate, built on that pressure. Type 3. You are a parent and you don't want to repeat this pattern. So let me speak to each of you. So if you are young, first, understand that a parent's fear is real. They are not evil or bad. They are just scared. Scared that you will suffer. Scared that you will struggle. Their fear is genuine, but it's their fear, not reality. Then, secondly, don't just rebel. Don't do the opposite of what they want just to prove them wrong. That's still psychological dependence. Then, find your own clarity, not their path, not the rebel path, but what do you genuinely care about? Not as a reaction, but genuinely. Then be willingly to face their disapproval. This is the hardest part. You want their love, their approval, and you might not get it. But if you live your entire life seeking their approval, you'll never be free. Then financial independence is the key. You can't be psychologically free if you're financially dependent. So, whatever path you choose, make sure you can support yourself. Not because money is the goal, but because dependence breeds resentment. Now, if you are the second type, if you are stuck in a career you hate, first, see how you got here. Don't blame, don't regret, just see clearly. I chose this out of fear, out of conditioning, out of need for approval. Seeing this clearly, without judgment, is the first step. Then, don't make another fear based choice. Don't quit your job tomorrow out of desperation or rebellion. That's just reacting to conditioning, not freedom. Then, start experimenting on the side. You don't need to blow up your life, but you do need to reconnect with your genuine interest. What did you love before this conditioning took over? Start doing that, not as a career, not for money, just for its own sake. See what happens. Then watch the seeking. If you find yourself thinking, if I can just make this my career, I'll finally be happy. That's still seeking. You are still using work to fill a void. Real freedom means you are okay whether your passion becomes your career or not. You do it because you love it, not because you need it to save you. Then make peace with your parents, not by getting their approval, but by understanding they were doing the best they could with the conditioning they had. Forgiveness is not saying what they did was right. Forgiveness is, I see they were also trapped, and I am choosing to be free. Now, if you are type 3, you are a parent. First, recognize your fear. You are afraid your child will suffer, struggle, fail. This fear is natural, but it's your fear, not their reality. Secondly, don't project your unfulfilled dreams onto them. If you gave up your passion to be practical, don't force them into the same choice. And don't force them into your unlived dream either. Let them find their own path. Third, trust their intelligence. Children have natural intelligence, natural interest. Your job isn't to control it or direct it. Your job is to create space for it to emerge. Fourth, let them fail. Failure is how they learn, how they grow. If you protect them from every failure, you create a dependent, fearful adult. Fifth, give them roots and wings. Roots are security, love, support, and wings are freedom to explore, fail, find your own way. Not one or the other, but both. This is how the cycle breaks. Not by doing the opposite, but by being aware of the whole pattern and choosing freedom. So let me bring this all together. The problem: parents, out of fear, pressure children into safe careers. Children, wanting approval, abandon their genuine interests. By adulthood, they are stuck in work they hate, living a life someone else designed. The pattern: this isn't your parents' fault or your fault. It's a multi-generational cycle of fear passed down as wisdom. The trap is, even following your passion can be conditioning if it's a reaction to parental pressure. As long as you're seeking something from your work, approval, validation, security, you are not free. The freedom is real freedom is psychological independence, not needing your work to make you feel worthy, secure, or successful, not seeking approval from parents, society, or yourself. This freedom comes from seeing the conditioning, seeing the reaction, seeing the seeking, and in that seeing, without trying to fix or change anything, transformation happens. And what emerges from the freedom is natural interest, natural action, natural expression. Work that's not a burden, not a means to an end, not a way to prove anything, but pure creativity, pure expression, pure joy. This is possible, not in the future, not after you find the right career, but right now, by seeing clearly. Krishnamurti once spoke to a group of students who were being pressured by their parents into careers they don't want. He said, your parents love you, but they are also afraid, and out of that fear, they are trying to control your life, not because they are bad people, but because they don't know any other way. And if you rebel against them, you are still not free. You are just reacting, still trapped in a relationship to their fear. Real freedom is when you are no longer seeking their approval, no longer proving them wrong, no longer using your career to fill a void. Real freedom is when you do what you do out of love for the thing itself, not for what it will get you, not for what it will prove, just for the joy of doing it. And when you live from that freedom, your life becomes your own, not theirs, not society's, but yours. That's the invitation. Not to fix your life, not to find the perfect career, not to make your parents finally understood, but to see the whole pattern clearly. And in that seeing, to be free. I know this isn't easy. I know you might be 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 years old into a life you don't choose. But it's never too late. Freedom is always available, right now, in this moment, by seeing what is. Watch yourself, see the fear, see the seeking, see the conditioning, not to judge it, not to fix it, but just to see it. And then something will shift, not because you forced it, but because awareness itself transforms. Thanks for listening. And whatever you do, don't waste your life doing work you hate just because someone else was afraid. Your life is yours. Live it.